Hi, this is Erkin Fresh, aka Blue Phoenix. I'll be making a bass that you could use for trance or freeform or even downtempo in this tutorial. I'm going to give you a sample of what it's going to sound like when it's done. That's one possible just flat notes, or you can go and vary it up a little bit. Alright, so I'll be using Zebra 2 synth for this. If you don't have Zebra 2, you can probably follow along with a different synth. I won't be using any of Zebra 2's crazy cool features. So you should be able to follow along if you have something like Silent or the like. So I'm going to grab myself a Zebra 2 here, and I'm actually going to be referring to this other one throughout the tutorial. Okay, so grab your Zebra 2, and you're going to need some notes. Also, make sure you have a drum line going, because if you're programming your bass without drums, it's not going to sound very good. Make sure you get some drums going. Just straight up 4 to the floor here. Nothing too fancy going on with the drums. So make sure you get that first before you get started. As for the notes, you want to go to 16th mode here, and you want to loop up to 1.3 here, and grab your pencil here and just fill in, skip the first one, do 3, and then skip the 4th one and do 3 more. Alright, so that's just the default. Let's initialize this thing. So, okay, it doesn't sound that great yet, obviously. We haven't done anything. So, first thing I'm going to do with my first oscillator, I am going to use a sawtooth with this and just set it into a 2 mode here, and take this down 12 semis, not 12 and a half. It is a little bit quiet. Let's bring that volume up so we can actually hear what we're doing. Utility. That's better. Okay, so woo. Nothing crazy yet. So let's add another oscillator here. That doesn't sound like bass at all, does it? For oscillator 2, I'm going to use a kind of a pulse wave here. I think maybe 11 will sound pretty good. It's about a quarter, I think 25% PWM. And I'm going to go minus 24. It's going to be kind of our sub here. And I'm going to go with dual on that as well. And get some detune here. I need to detune this one a little bit too. And I'm actually going to have this retrigger. Okay. We're going to add a third oscillator now. And the third oscillator is another sawtooth. So let's go in there and get a quad on this one. And I'm going to use sync. If your synth doesn't have sync on it, like Silent, I know it doesn't have sync, don't worry about it too much. It gives it kind of a cool sound, but oh well. We can't all have sync in our synths. Okay, so right now you're thinking, alright, that sounds like crap. Let me make sure my volumes are okay here, because I think they're not. Yeah, this oscillator 3 is way too high. I'm going to bring that down a bit, and let's widen that up a bit. Give us a little bit more stereo here. We actually don't want our bass to be quite as wide. And we want this one. It's sounding okay. Pardon me, getting over a cold here. So that's a start. We haven't added our filter yet, so that's why it kind of sounds a little bit crummy. I'm just going to use a low pass filter on here, and this old drive mode seems to sound pretty good on this. I'm sorry, gosh. Been getting over like a week-long cold here. Okay, so we're doing a low-pass filter, and we're going to set an envelope on that, so it's going to close. So start off a little bit higher and then close down, clamp down on the signal. I'm just going to take this down to about here or so, and bring the key follow up a bit. Just a little bit. We're going to be using that here when we get to a not flat note lane. A little bit of resonance, and bringing this up. Pull that decay down a little bit here. So need some more of this. Drive. Alright, it's sounding pretty good. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. Alright, so that's about it for the synth side of this. There's also a whole bunch of stuff we're going to add here after this to kind of spice things up a little bit. So grab yourself a saturator or a distortion unit, whatever you use for your distortion. I'm going to pick a bit warmer preset for Ableton's saturator. You know, so it gives it kind of a gritty sound. I think I'm actually going to pull that drive down just a little bit. Let's also get rid of this. I'm going to increase my output on Zebra itself. Something like that. Now let's go over here and on our saturator. Sounding nice and gives kind of a gritty sound to it. Let's see, the dry wet. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. So one thing I've had a lot of success with here is to add actually add a reverb to the bass. Now generally that's a no-no. You shouldn't do it. To reverb the bassy part of the bass, that is the lower frequencies. So what we're going to do is actually put a low cut on this, and it'll only kind of give a reverb to the higher parts. So let's take a listen to that. Let's go ahead and throw it all the way over to wet, and just kind of mess around with this some. You really don't want a whole lot of decay time here. Bring that size down. Pre-delay. Don't want no pre-delay here. Go like 50%. It brings the original and the high. So if you want more of that reverby sound, you just go more wet. If you don't want it all, just go more dry. But find about 50% is pretty good. You can also adjust the volume like that, so. That's sounding pretty good now, isn't it? Let's add a EQ8. Let's throw this into a mid-side mode on our EQ. We're going to cut the sideband out on the bass part, because you don't want that. Don't sound no good coming out like that. I like to boost the highs on the side. Kind of gives it more of a stereo field. Let's see here. You can go overboard, so be careful with your EQs. Keep them nice. You can add some beef to it a little bit in the mids. In the mid band. So there we go. Pretty close. It's not exact, but dials are a little bit different, I guess. So there you go. That's a very fast bass. If you're using Zebra, you can actually go in here, and what I like to do is add some performance modulators here. So in the XY1, we're going to add filter 1 cutoff on the X and a resonance on the Y, and you can kind of play around with that. And oh, it's a little bit too low, maybe. That's probably a little bit high. Whoa! Laser beams! Oh, that's pretty good. Just want to barely get into laser beam territory, I think. Let's see here. Something like that, you know, and then what I do is over here in Ableton, I'll actually go and click on these, and you can then group everything together and assign these to your knobs and call them cutoff, res, and then 64 should be your default, your optimal value. Now when you want to go and do like a filter sweep, you can just sweep through this knob here. So that's pretty cool to do for your performance or your automations and things. One thing I also noticed, if you want to automate this drive knob on the saturator, that sounds pretty cool too. You could do some cool effects with that, I think. Not that direction, but that's kind of a neat knob to twist around. So there you have it. If you want to have a less flat version of this, make a copy, and let's play this one here. I kind of like to take this this note here and this note, and then bump them up an octave. Sounds pretty good. You could also like duplicate that. And it gets kind of a nice rhythmic version of it. You know, anything you want to do here, you can do some pretty cool sounding stuff here, of course. So anyway, sky's the limit with that. There's your simple trance, freeform, downtempo bass. Actually, yeah, if you want to go to like freeform range, let's see, it's a little bit heavy on the release, I think, or decay. Let's just go here and might also experiment with shortening your notes a little bit, as long as your release is all the way down. That should put a gap between your notes here. You can also play with your envelope here, and pardon me. For more of a down tempo sound, you can go down to, let's say, 100 BPM, and well, let's do 90. You can increase your decay, of course. Yeah, whatever's going to sound good for you. You can also do a eighth note. You know, whatever's going to work for you. Yeah, don't be afraid to play with that decay knob. That makes a huge difference. You can also do filter sweeps by doing modulation on your decay knob. If you wanted to. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Especially if I'm not babbling over it. I think you can set that up here even and go to, let's see, Inf1, decay. Yeah, you can. You can actually add that to your X1 there. Sounds pretty cool. Anyway, that's about it for the bass. might make a tutorial next on adding sub bass as well. So hopefully you'll get something out of this tutorial. Always make sure to save your work. In Ableton, you can go in here and hit the save. And now you've got a bass you can always drop into your project and use right away. Enjoy.